It is great to be here this evening. It's just the 20th of December. It's almost the solstice, and Robyn and I are sitting here. It's time to share what we've been talking about. I'm Val Walker, previously a rehabilitation counselor. I'm a writer. I write for Psychology Today as a blogger, and I have two books out, The Art of Comforting and 400 Friends and No One to Call. And besides writing, I do a lot of reading, and I've been really interested in the topic of awe and wonder for both professional and very, very personal reasons too. So I'll just let my introduction go that way and turn over to Robyn. Tell us what brings you in here.
Thanks, Val. So, my name's Robyn Houston-Bean, and I am the founder of the Sun Will Rise Foundation. First, I also do insurance during the day as well. So I have a family-owned insurance agency, but my passion lies with my foundation. And that was created in 2015 after the death of my son, Nicholas, due to a polysubstance overdose. And its main mission is to provide grief support to others who have also lost someone due to substance use. So I'm so thankful for you to have me here today to be part of this project.
It is really an honor. Well, I can't help but say it's probably time for hearing a story. And I know you have an important story to tell. And Robyn, I'd love it if you go first.
Oh, sure. So, all right. So, like I said, my 20-year-old son, Nick, passed, and it was really the last thing I had expected to happen in my life. And it put me in a really dark place. My family was worried, Robyn, who was a go-getter, was on the couch and not doing really well. And one thing that I found helpful to myself was to go to his grave site every day. It was just down the street, so it was easy to get to.
Totally.
I would just go there just to, I don't know, just be closer to where maybe I felt like his spirit was or something. I couldn't really explain why, but it was a need. Like if I couldn't be there, I was going to be really, really upset. So much like I went away for a couple days one time. I asked my sister, could she go in my place to just go to the grave, and be there in that area. And luckily she would do that for me, which I'm blessed for. But, and it was a changeable place, right? There would be new flowers that would grow, grass would grow, and things like that. It's only very in the very beginning. I hadn't even, been there that long, but I could already see these changes happening. And, with each change of something, it was like Nick was growing a little farther away from me, and it wasn't being helpful for me to be there. It felt
Mm.
scarier, but I still put myself to go there every day. And um, right away, there's no gravestone. That's something you have to do. You have to order, you have to make, you have to design. And
Yeah.
hard, right? To do that for your son.
Mm.
You're not supposed to bury your child. You're not supposed to do it. So an excruciating thing, but we came up with it together as a family, and my daughter helped design it, which was really nice. Um, and the gentleman had told me that he, would tell me once the stone was going to go in.
Mm.
And I would turn the corner every day and there would, be Nick's spot, and it was flat and it just had a little tiny paper sign that was in plastic and it said Nick Bean and his date of death. And I turned the corner one day and without warning, the stone was there. That put me in such a tailspin. I get choked up, when I
Oh,
talk about
yeah.
it, because
Um,
the permanence of that piece of granite just, this is real. This happened and he's never coming back. There's your family name on a stone, and it was just horrifying is the word I would use. I just broke down. I started sobbing, just lying on that grass there. I can smell that smell of that grass. That's how poignant that memory is. Like it just takes me right back there. And I remember a car driving by slowly and just kind of looking out the window like, is this lady, okay? But they didn't stop, which I don't know what it would have happened if they did, but it was almost at that moment I was like, I can't do this without him. I just can't do this. I don't want to do it. How about that? I don't want to live my life without my son. This is sad. This is not the way your life is supposed to go. And I just didn't know, like, how do you keep going? How do you keep doing what you need to do for the rest of your family, for yourself? And in that moment that I was just hysterical, and there was this dragonfly that just came out of nowhere, and it flitted around for a minute, and then it just landed right on me, and it shook the hystericalness right out of me. Like, it just brought me to, what is going on here? What is going on here? Why is this dragon? Why did that happen at this particular moment? And you hear symbolism of dragonflies and birds and things like that when people pass and things like that. And I just took them as like, whatever. But this moment, that interactiveness with the dragonfly just made me come back into my space, got me out of my hysterical moment. And for a moment, I talked to that dragonfly as if it was my son, Nick. The words don't matter what was said, at that moment, but I had time that I spent with Nick talking, and I could see the little tiny eyes on this dragonfly. I'd never seen a dragonfly up so close. And it was profound. It was just amazing to look at this creature just looking right back at me. We had made some connection that I never really had experienced anything in my life like that. And I talked and I said the things that I needed to say to Nick, to the world. I didn't have a lot of support at that time outside of just my family. And it felt good to say some things out loud. And I said how pissed I was that the stone was there, and, thank you for stopping me from being so out of control and sitting with me for a little bit. I was thankful to that dragonfly for bringing me back and making me feel like a sense of calm, as I was here. I was frantic, and this just brought me like, it soothed me. And it started to fly away. And I said, wait, Nick, come back. Don't go, I'm not ready. And the dragonfly came back and it landed on me again. And I took out my camera because I knew no one would hear this and believe me at that moment. So I have a little video of this dragonfly sitting with me. And I talked again and I said, thank you for coming back. And I said the things that I needed to say that I hadn't said in that first moment. And eventually the dragonfly flew away, but I didn't feel, when it first flew away, that first time I felt like a little nervous, like what? And now I said, no, it's okay. I know that there is more to this world than I can explain. There's more than just me. It's a bigger space. It's something that is unexplainable, but it will live with me forever. And it changed me in that moment. In that moment, I knew, you're going to go on. You're going to be able to do something. You're not going to be a crumpled mom lying on the grass in a graveyard. You're just not going to be that person. And so that is my moment of wonder and awe. And I thank whatever brought that to happen that day. I'm so thankful for it, because I think that was part of the reason that I started grief groups and getting people together to know that they could, if that moment hadn't happened, I don't know if this is where I would be right now. So it was a life-changing moment when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
My God. My God. You guys were in such sync, whatever was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did
Amazing.
tell a few people, about that, but then you pack it away and you hold on to it
Yeah.
for yourself. And it feels amazing to be able to tell the story again, because I can feel that anxiety that I felt before it happened. And then I feel the calm and the peace that it brought me. And just that, it's like sometimes when you feel like the room just gets really much bigger than you know that feeling?
Mm.
It happens when I tell that story again. Like, it's just like you just feel you're just this part of the universe. There's so much more out there that you just can't explain. So it's really amazing.
Boy, I can just see those eyes looking at you, and you were just so in sync. It's almost like you knew what each other was doing for whatever, and it was so tuned into you. It just, and you were so tuned into it. And there's something about that attunement. That's what wonder does somehow. It draws us in and, yeah, pulls you out somehow from whatever was in there.
Yeah, it was a profound moment, and I'm very happy that I had it because, like I said, it opened me up to all these other moments that happen, and maybe not all of them are that like wow, but they are certainly amazing and awe and everything else like that. And I recognize it now. It's much more easily recognized because I had that profound moment.
Mm.
Um, I'd love to hear about your moment.
Oh man. Well, I'm still sort of feeling it for your story. So, but you know what? What's fascinating is the story I'm about to tell. There are some remarkable, I'm getting chills already. There's some remarkable similarities with my story, and it's kind of uncanny. And so here we go. Um, so back in 1978, yes, I'm going to date myself. I'm a baby boomer. And back when I was in my sweet little age of around 22, going on 23, I was caught up in domestic abuse and I got away from this very dangerous guy. And in the late 70s, there really weren't shelters for women who were escaping abuse. It wasn't safe unless you may be lucky if your family protected you or you had some people to help protect you. But in those days, it was up to the woman to have had some kind of personal network. Well, let's just say I kind of went through my network. I mean, how many days are they going to let you stay on their couch? How I was running, and this really sick man chased me around for months and months, practically a year. I'm not kidding you. And I couldn't even keep a job because he could find where I was. I won't spill all the details, but it was in Richmond, Virginia area generally, where I ended up, even though I had lived in other parts of the country and he was following me around. And I, basically couldn't work. And I ended up homeless, which is a lot of women especially in those days, running from abuse. If you didn't get a lot of protection, you had to hide, you had to run, you know. And I was pretty broke, and I was scared. And I even went to, at the time, the mental health community to, what's out there? And there, in those days, they really didn't have a lot of help seriously, in terms of protecting women, like a shelter. You can talk all you want about why it happened, but you need help. You need to be safe. And in 1978 and 1979, quite honestly, the first domestic violence shelter for women opened in Richmond, Virginia in 1979, just a little after this whole thing ended for me. Uh, Terrible timing, right? It was at I think the YWCA in Richmond, at the Y, where it opened a shelter, and it was very small, but it was the first in Richmond. I'll never, just saying, that's a fact. So goes to show, maybe my life would have had a different
Mm.
situation if that shelter had opened. But I basically felt so awful about myself
Mm.
because in the mental health community in those days, I hate to say it, but there was a bit of victim blaming going on. You know, look at yourself, look at what you chose, look at what you attracted. You know, it wasn't about safety here and now. You know, it wasn't just, you know, let's stop thinking about it, let's do something about it and get you safe. So anyway, I even went to a church. I mean, I was bumming around trying to get help, asking people. I felt very abandoned. I felt like nobody understood, and people thought I was nuts. Why did I end up with this sicko? You know, and he scared the hell out of me. And these are terrorist activities, really. So, and I'm young. I just about turned 23 at that time. So at one point, I ended up getting some Valium from somebody, a big jar of it. Valium was given out a lot back in the 70s. And I kind of stole it from somebody I knew. And I just said, I'm just going to go out to a campground that's pretty desolate. And this was in September, this was in early fall. And around that time, also, my grandmother, who I was very close to, had died. So I felt like I felt guilty also that she had died when I was going through such an awful thing, and I wouldn't have been able to, you know, she couldn't have protected me at that time because there was other illness going on in the family and everything. She had her hands full. So I felt awful about it. I felt guilty. I felt bad that she didn't get to see me happy and out of this situation. And so I was feeling terrible about her. I was feeling terrible about me. I was feeling that I was just a bum. So I was ready to take the Valium. I was going to go to the side of the river. There are different sections of the James River outside of Richmond. I won't get into the details, but there was some pockets of places near campgrounds, kind of not on the camp, but I knew how to get around and was off going by a river, by a marshy area, and it was getting kind of dim light towards twilight, and it's still pretty warm out. And I sat by the river, and I was about to take the Valium and had a little bit of cheap Gallo wine to wash it down. I was just ready to lie down by the river, just close my eyes. And of all things, I'd taken a couple, you know, I was kind of like, yeah, I got to do this. And out of the blue, out of the deep blue of the twilight sky comes this huge bird soaring, circling sort of over me and landing about 9 or 10 feet away from me, staring at me, this huge bird. It was a great blue heron. Talk about staring at you. They don't quite stare direct, you know, it was kind of like that. So I could see the eye staring into my soul. It was almost like it was, I mean, they have a very piercing look. And even in the moon was starting to come up, it was a real dim little moon. And I could just see the light of the heron's eyes and the outline. It was pretty powerful looking bird there, just staring at me. I mean, it stopped me dead in my tracks. And I just didn't want to swallow those pills. And the bird just stayed with me. I think this whole thing may have lasted 30, 40 seconds. It was just very brief. It stared at me. I had this deep connection. I didn't think of anything except that here was this incredible beauty, the magnificence of the bird and the light. It looked truly heaven sent. It was gorgeous. The light could have been, it felt like a bird angel kind of thing. It felt amazingly gorgeous and beautiful. And I just thought to myself, I don't want to die. This is so beautiful. I love the water. I love rivers. I love twilight. I love the stars. I love the moon. This is all too beautiful. I don't want to give this up. And ever since then, I just never have wanted to go there ever again in my life, ever again. And ever since, I've loved blue herons. I love the water. I love marshy areas and rivers and other kinds of water birds. Um, and I just adore the beauty. And Rachel Carson had a beautiful, beautiful quote that kind of goes with this, that has been like a motto for my whole life ever since the heron just showed me life is just too beautiful. And I'll tell you what the Rachel Carson quote is. I just think it's one sentence. It's like, those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. So I realize my strength, no matter what people say, no matter what a bum I was, a loser, I chose the wrong, everything, all my, I had dignity. I had found some enormously dignified, wondrous bird that, showed me there's so much to live for. And I've never, ever since wanted to go there again.
That's amazing. I from your story, I could feel how alone you felt and how in a bad place you were. And then that moment, like I always go to like, why does that happen in that moment?
Why did it have to happen then?
Right that second? And
Yeah.
those birds are not,
No.
you can't ignore those birds, for sure. And for it
When
to,
one comes that close to you, why?
yeah,
What
yeah.
did he want to have some of that? The pills look good.
Yeah, yeah. What a changing moment for you, that to take you out of yourself and show you
Yeah.
there's something much bigger in the world or out of this world, who knows, just being part of that moment. I thank that heron,
hmm But that eye to eye contact you had with the dragonfly, and you were caught up in your stuff in your
yeah,
brain, that
yeah.
grief and a whole different kind of misery that you were caught up in. I was caught up in a different kind of misery, but it's it got us out of it suddenly, like just
Did.
it. So
Yeah, almost instantaneous, right? Because you were like, wait, what is happening here? Like you just get your breath like, what? I don't understand how this could be happening at that second. So, and it
the
is very,
timing, yeah,
yeah,
that
it's
second,
our parallels in our stories of like when you were saying you were like lying on the ground and I was lying on it's very
yeah.
strange. I think this is like a moment of awe and wonder in itself that these
I
stories
was
of,
ready to give up. I
yeah,
really was. I was like surrendering. It was like, take me. I'm here by the water. Just let me,
yeah,
and I wonder if the openness of feeling like I was ready to go might have made, who knows, whatever we give out, we emit from our soul or from our bodies, something knows. I don't know, you
and the
know.
thing is it's not just that moment, it's what it gave both of us, to move forward, to keep going, and you took that with you, that heron is just part of you now, just like that dragonfly is part of
Yeah,
me. Mm.
yeah, yeah. And, when people talk about totem animals, your soul animal, your animal companions, I don't want to say, yes, there's truth to studying totem animals and totem birds, and there's a lot of truth to it. It comes from beautiful indigenous histories of all different types of cultures. I'm all for it. But
Mm.
I don't want to simplistically say, oh, the heron's my spirit animal, the dragonfly is your spirit animal. It's so much bigger than that. And also, I want to say I sometimes have wondered, was that my grandmother's spirit?
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know if somehow she made the heron come from the other side. I don't know. I don't know. Um, it makes you wonder, but I don't necessarily think it has to be so that this happened.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It just doesn't have to be with animals and things like that. I've had profound senses of wonder and awe, and being in a space with other grieving people, like this moment that we're all at a candlelight vigil, and you can feel this energy, and
Mm.
you just feel there's so much out there. There's so much more, and you can't explain it, but the person next to you is feeling that, and it's this collective sense of amazement and awe. So there's so many different ways to experience ours. Our two stories today just happen to have, you know,
The wilderness.
right. Yeah.
But I know, like, um, Chris Martin's concerts, like A Sky Full of Stars, like you should see some of those. I know I watch a YouTube video that shows these enormous lights of thousands of people at the stadium enjoying a concert like that, and they all light up and sing. And
Yeah.
there's some glorious moments with music when that happens, and protests when that happens, or the the collective. Yeah, you're right. And the candlelight vigils you're talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Robyn, I have to say you've done amazing jobs organizing those kinds of things too.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's the power they know that they give to people. So it's a joy to be able to give that to the community and let them experience some type of something, whatever they need at that moment. So, yeah.
mm. Well, I would like to believe, I mean, I guess those were our big ones,
Mm.
are the biggest perhaps, but there are also so many smaller ones that are still very meaningful and continue to nurture us, that keep happening. And what I'd like to say from here on out, we're going to start inviting people to tell their stories and how it's helped heal them. Um, there's so many other smaller stories about water birds and being by the water. There's something about being in your element sometimes, if it is in nature, that is healing, that opens you up to wonder and awe, you know. um, there are ways to have repeat rituals, almost, of going back to sacred places or back to special spots, indoors or outdoors, that you feel that sacred awe, that reverence, if you like. And reverence is a really beautiful word too, that's a close cousin. What do you think about that? Do you immediately think of religion, or?
No, I don't think I do. I think you can be in that moment and feel that, and it doesn't have to be a spiritual or religious thing. It can be just what that moment is. You just like when you said that word, I knew what you were talking about. Like you could
Mhm.
feel that. And like when people are telling me some of their stories without realizing they were really powerful, it'd be just a small story, but I get like goosebumps from it. And you
Is,
know
yeah,
it's something bigger, like
yeah.
that this is like a powerful thing. And I actually get like a jolt from it. Like it's like, wow, this is amazing that other
Yeah.
people are experiencing these things and we don't talk about them, Val. Like we just don't. I get to do it because I'm in a grief group and we are sitting there talking about hard, hard things. The rest of the population is not doing this all the time. So giving this space and then letting other people hear the stories, even if you're not the person telling it, you're getting so much from listening to other people's stories, which I think this is just great to
Yeah.
do.
And I love to embellish it too, to give it the space, the time it needs to be told, you know. And funny enough, sometimes our telling of the story might last longer than the actual moment of what happened, but that's all good because we're unpacking. Don't you hate that word? But it was sort of unpacking all the bennies out of that experience that continue to enrich us. So that's why the retelling of the stories is a good thing. And you look at cultures, indigenous cultures and earlier cultures, for thousands and thousands of years, have told stories about awe and wonder too. And everybody goes, woo, are they, lots of stories, tall tales, what were they, and they're all parts of sharing these. So I think it's built in. We're hardwired to have these as human beings. So bring it on. Here we go. we're gonna host some stories. Every now and then I'll bring in some new nuggets from some neuroscience to cheer us on and go, did you know this? Or and now and then we'll ask some really good questions of people and get folks to wonder, just do more wondering about wonder.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what people will talk about. And I am, even though it's science, I'm excited to hear about more science about it because it just legitimizes what, like, it really does make you feel good, right? It's not just me thinking that in my head. It's real.
Well,
They
not
really,
to rain on anybody's parade, there is a whole side to awe that has there's some other dark aspects of awe that are fair to cover too, that have their place.
yep.
For the most part, when we're talking about healing experiences, we're going to talk more about the positives, but it's good to bring up some other aspects of awe and wonder that are still, I think, kind of put humans in their own place, if you like. Talk about the small self. Well, sometimes the power of something can really grip us some ways. But I think for our purposes, for telling our stories, it's mostly the more in the ways that we feel healed, that's why we're telling them. But
Yeah.
to be
Your
fair,
next
awe
project.
is not always a pretty story sometimes.
No, and I can attest to that for sure. I know exactly what you're talking about. So maybe in your next project we can do those type of stories. But I think in
Right.
this one, the healing, positive stories will be amazing to hear.
Yeah, and there are some people interested, so we'll be getting people ready to come and share stories just like what we're doing now. And we're working out the technology to do better with our YouTube channel. And eventually we might even have a full-blown podcast, but we're starting this way. And Robyn, I just feel such a wonderful ease of conversation. We're just both so eager to share, and I just feel this is going to flow really nicely when we get some other people here telling their stories. But I'm so glad to hear your story. Of really moved me, and it just makes you keep wondering and thinking. I'm never going to forget that. I'm just never going to forget what
Yeah, no,
happened to you.
I am feeling the same way that you are. I think this is going to be a great relationship together to bring these to other people. And your heron, I told you, I've already seen your heron, like you just gave me a little glimpse of your heron, and your heron is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. Every time I see a heron, I'll think of Val and her story, and it'll be related to Wawinda. That's, like I'll.
I know. Well, there's so much to come. And thank you, everyone who's watching, and just so glad we could do this. And we will do this again. The more, the merrier. So here we are. Happy holidays to everyone.
Take care, everybody. Until next time.